Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Wicked Horror Show. I'm Kevin, and as always, I'm joined by Tony with his technical problems. What's up, Tony?
What is going on, people? You could hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you. And
right,
today we have a very special guest, director, writer, producer, Mike T. Lyddon. How you doing, Mike?
Greetings. Hello, you guys. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going great. Thank you very much for coming on. So, yeah, we were able to check out some stuff. Looking at your IMDb, you've been making films for a while. It seems like going back to the 90s. So, yeah. What got you into filmmaking?
Well, actually, it was even before that. When I was a teenager, early 80s, some friends of mine and I were making films. You guys can hear me all right?
Yeah,
okay, great. Yep. Cool. On Super 8. So back in the 80s, of course, it was Super 8, man. There was not even video. Okay, It was Super 8. So we started making these short films, and at that point, I wasn't taking it seriously. I was working. I was like a floor. This was in California. I was working as a floor covering estimator for several years, and just kind of like didn't treat it very, very seriously. Then I moved to New Orleans. That's where I found some people that wanted to like make features, do something like really, a little more with a little more oomph to it. And so we started off, we did a couple of short films, and then the first feature we got, a couple of investors, and we made a feature called Cut Up, which turned out really well. It was shot on 16 millimeter, and it's kind of like it does have horror elements. It's kind of like a crime thriller, more so. But we wanted to do some stuff. The guy that Jeff Turek that I made the film with, both of us were big Argento fans.
Yeah,
lighting. That guy is just like the master, and I think you guys would agree. He just is amazing. So in that film, we tried our best to get some, especially with the murder scenes, get that lighting, that atmosphere going, and I think it worked out really well. Definitely the most mainstream film I've ever made. Let's just put it that way. And immediately we had response. It actually did very well internationally. So that turned out pretty well. But right after that, I was like, man, I need to make like a film that's kind of more like me, and less mainstream. So I was hanging out with these other guys. And we decided to do Zombie versus Mardi Gras. Now, this is shot on Super 8, black and white. And it's a horror comedy, kind of like if Roger Corman met Jean-Luc Godard. That's kind of like the thing. It's that intersection of the two. And so we made that film. Technically, we finished it in 96. We got distribution through Salt City. At that time, Salt City was actually doing pretty well. They became Sub Rosa, for people that aren't aware of the name change. And here's the VHS of Zombie that they came out with. And it's pretty cool. In reality, this zombie is not the zombie. It's just one. as a matter of fact, it's one of the corpses that I made for Cut Up that we reused. That we kind of reconfigured it. We reused it, and the Sub Rosa people were like, "Oh, that's a cool looking photo. Let's use that for the artwork." And yeah, there it is. Zombie versus Mardi Gras. Beads, breasts, blood. Right there at the bottom.
Perfect combination of things for an awesome movie. Yeah.
So
Sergio's in the chat room. He just wanted to say hi. Hi, Sergio. Tony looks like looks like Tony's having some technical issues. His camera kept cutting out and everything. So we'll be back. But so yeah, so like looking at I've only was able to check out 2 of your movies. The older ones you were saying before we went live that a little hard to find. Do you know if any of these older ones are anywhere?
Yeah, actually, Cut Up is available on Amazon. It's available it's streaming also on DVD on Amazon. At the very least, it may be on a couple of other platforms, but it's definitely there. I can guarantee that. Zombie is just nowhere, man. It's like it's one of those things. I got to tell you, this is one of the strangest. Okay. The last time, this is like several years ago, I looked on Amazon and I was like, I wonder if they ever put Zombie up there, the other guys that did the film, because they are handling the distribution, quote unquote. And I saw this for sale, VHS copy for sale. And I'm like, and for $500. And I was like, okay, what the hell? What's going on there? It turns out that the copies are so rare that they do go for that amount of money. As a matter of fact, I just sold one for $250.
Nice.
So it is they're just not available. That is it. After Sub Rosa made them, the contract expired with them. And the guy, one of the dudes that I made the film with, he ended up doing a really good digital remaster of the film, put it on DVD. It looks great. I have one copy of it. Thank God. It's amazing I got it. But they're really just not doing much with it. He may have it in some local shops in New Orleans. That's about it, man. That's what I can say about that.
Just real quick too, another one of our friends, Daniel John, is in the. Just wanted to say hi, and Tom, 13th Wolfman, who's actually usually part of the show.
Hello, Thomas.
Yeah. So he has Cut Up.
Yeah.
Zombie versus Mardi Gras.
He's one of the few people in the world that's seen Zombie versus Mardi Gras. Yeah.
He's seen a lot. He's an encyclopedia of horror knowledge. We actually. A few years ago, I was doing a horror trivia at a convention, and I was like, Wolfie, you write the questions, and they were so hard, no one was getting them. Like there was one guy who knew some of them, and I'm like, these are way too hard. I'm sorry, guys, but
right.
He knows too much.
That's getting kind of obscure. One of the things we did with Zombie though, when it came out, which was totally cool, is we did a lot of live shows. You see, with Zombie versus Mardi Gras, we also had about a dozen rock groups in and around New Orleans, and even like traditional musicians, blues musicians in New Orleans and stuff, do the soundtrack. So we did these live shows, and we'd have some of the groups play live, and then we'd show the movie.
That's awesome.
And those turned out really good. We'd get like hundreds of people in a show. That the whole type of thing that you make some money, you get exposure.
Yeah.
And so forth.
People remember that. Like people will remember that experience.
Exactly. And so in that sense, Zombie did really well. And those guys, when I left New Orleans years ago, they continued to do those shows.
Nice.
So, it's one of those weird things. It hasn't gotten a widespread release, but it's certainly, as far as a regional film, it's known. People know it. It's one of those things. So in that sense, it's cool. I do like that. It's just it was so crazy filming that damn thing. We were, shooting, and I'll have to send. As a matter of fact, I'm getting close to creating some clips off of the DVD. Okay, because I still hold copyright with those guys. So as far as clips go, I can show them, do whatever I want, as long as I don't sell the thing.
Yeah.
So we were shooting on literally Mardi Gras Day, which is always Fat Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Super 8 camera with our zombie attacking people on Bourbon Street, man. Yeah. We'd go up to people, of course, scantily clad girls and the whole deal, and say, look, would you like to be in a film? Would you mind if zombie attacks you? That kind of thing.
This is in 99 or 98 when you're making it, though, right?
This is 95, actually, 95. When we were making it. Yeah, because we pretty much finished it. It was a finished thing by 96. We just didn't get official distribution until 99 because there were just a couple. We had distribution, or we thought we did, with another company, and they dropped out. And it just was one of those deals. So it finally, Salt City Sub Rosa in 1999 picked it up on, for VHS release.
Nice.
And that was, it's such a weird period of time because we were, even then in the 90s, VHS was all over the place. It was ubiquitous. It was like people never even questioned. 1999, you go into a store, there's the VHS, and DVD was just starting, basically.
I worked at Best Buy. I worked at a Best Buy in 99, and it was all VHS, and it was like one small section of DVD, and you could see it just slowly take over, But I don't know.
Just like CDs.
Yeah.
How that the whole thing just kind of creeps its way in.
Yeah. And then it all disappears. I went to a record store recently, and there's like a whole thing of music in the back, and everything else, it's like T-shirts and Funko Pops. There's a record store, whatever.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's become like, more a weird kind of memorabilia kind of stuff than the actual item itself.
Yeah, and Wolfie. One thing that Wolfie, who's usually, like I said, part of the show, he's a big collector as well. We all are. Like we're collectors of physical media. So it's more of a tracking it down online, and there's a lot of really cool distribution companies out there that maybe there's one based out of Connecticut, actually, Vinegar Syndrome, and they do a lot of like weirder, like hard to find stuff. So maybe that's something to look into, because I know they did Psychos in Love, a friend of ours who made Psychos in Love, and it was like, I don't know, maybe that's something to look into.
They might. The thing is just getting the other people off their butts to do something. Seriously, that's it. They seem, to be content with doing the local shows. I don't know why, because the DVD, the actual job that the one guy did on the digital transfer was really good. You keep in mind, this is Super 8 film.
Yeah.
And God, man, I was very impressed with it. I love shooting on film as much as I can. It's just one of those things. It blows my mind. It's kind of like, have you seen The Lighthouse?
Yes. Yep.
With Willem Dafoe and the other guy.
that vampire kid, whatever.
The sparkly vampire.
Yeah.
So in any case, they shot that. He shot Eggers, the director. Yeah, he shot.
It was great. I thought it was a great movie. It was really fun.
Great film, and the cinematography is out of this world. Shot on 35 millimeter black and white film. And there is no way you can get that look on digital. It does not happen.
They don't make the filters. They don't make the filters to do that. And then we were talking a little bit before as well, and you're a big Creature from the Black Lagoon fan. Is Universal, is that what inspired you to get into filmmaking? Is the old horror, old monster movies?
Well, actually, that was one of them. Growing up, when I was a teen, it was a completely different world. We're talking late 70s, early 80s. That was my teenage, deal. And back then it was like Saturday morning creature features. We had in the 80s, definitely Elvira. I was living in California. So Elvira was our, one of our big horror hosts. When I was in New Orleans, there was a guy called Morgus the Magnificent, and this guy was fantastic. Same, comedy, horror type of deal, intro movies. So that was the kind of thing that we grew up with. It was like, your TV, you had like 22 channels or something, whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
And you had, the movie of the week, but things were just insanely great.
Yeah.
The end of the 70s into the 80s, I'm a big punk rock fan. I was like, the Stranglers, the Damned, the Dickies, all of these groups, and all of them have a thing in common. The ones that I really love, a lot of horror and science fiction in their music. So that was a big thing back in that. We used to go see the shows. This is once again in California, Los Angeles, Orange County, and it's one of those things where it just you had I don't know how to explain it other than the fact that it was like, okay, we're going to make a movie. Well, okay, how much money do you have? Because we have to buy the film and we have to get it processed. And there was always like being very careful in shooting your whatever you were doing. If it was a short film, whatever, not like today where it's just like shoot whatever the hell you want, right, or whatever.
Give me a new card,
totally different world. And I think I'm very glad to have grown up in that, because I do today, even if I'm shooting on digital, I don't like BSing around. It's like, okay, get the shot ready, do it. You may find something different when you're on set, and change things around. I like the storyboard stuff. But when you do it, in earnest. Like it's not something you're like, oh yeah, that's cool, let's just shoot that or whatever. No, I can't do that, because it just doesn't. For me, it just doesn't turn out. It has to be something that it's like, okay, this is it. This is how it's it's framed. The scene is what we're gonna do, and we do it, and you tweak it until it's right. If it's not right, it's not right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
He's got a question. He's asking if you ever use short ends when doing filmmaking. Because we talk about Cycles in Love and how they made the whole movies with short ends, like they got them from like productions and stuff.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the Witch Tales, the last film that I shot in Peru. Here's a really funny story. Actually, I got technically some short ends from my friend John Woods, who's actually been involved in several of the films I've made, features, over the years. I've known that guy for 30 years at least. And so he had film in his freezer, right? Like odds and ends, like 100 feet, 200, 400 foot, whatever. Wow. And so he was like, hey, I'll send it to you if you're going to shoot some of Witch Tales on film, And I was like, cool. All right. So here's the problem. I was in the US. We were at that time, in actually very close to New Orleans before we moved to Peru. So he sends me the film. I put it in the freezer. But then the problem is that we had to ship all of our stuff to Peru. Cargo takes like 2 or 3 weeks to get there. Yeah. The film gets unfrozen. It's in a cargo ship for 2 or 3 weeks. Then you get it. Then you put it in your freezer again. So after all this process, and the film was already like 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
So most of it was crap. In other words, it just had like a weird look about it. I was able to use, there was one scene with the witch that is on film. The rest of it's digital, but I managed to salvage one scene. So thank God.
Yeah. So the thing with that, so we were talking before about Tubi as well. So the First Man on Mars is Tubi right now, and that's got a very campy sci-fi old school feel to it.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned Creature from the Black Lagoon earlier, is because there's a few scenes that seem like very much out of Creature from the Black Lagoon to me, like the on the boat and everything.
So the hand over the rail.
Yeah. But it's great. That's one of my favorite Universal monsters is monster movies, Frankenstein, and then I would say next is probably Creature for me. I love it. But
it is great.
Yeah, it's a great film, and I've always loved Frankenstein. There's times where I feel like maybe Creature's a little bit better, but then I don't want to admit it to myself. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
well, Frankenstein is it's just an incredible film. He took that, and the people complain, well, it's not really the novel. I'm like, yes, it's okay. The creature is different and everything, but the way that James Whale infused the creature with a certain pathos, a certain where he's totally three-dimensional, even though he just grunts and he doesn't speak like he does in the novel.
Yeah.
Boris Karloff is just fantastic, and they really portray that idea of the cruelty of man against something they don't understand, I guess. You see it. It's just it's in there. It's great. Such a great film. I'd put that as number 2.
Really?
Yeah, with the creature. Just flip flop them there.
Sergio's asking if there's a movie, like a horror movie, that you remember, like as a kid, that scared you, that got you into horror. Is there one in particular?
Yeah, there was one that scared the shit out of me. You guys are obscenities allowed?
Oh, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, cool. But it scared the shit out of me as a kid, and my brothers really took advantage of it too, to scare the shit out of me further. My older brothers.
Yeah.
But I'm like 8, 9 years old, whatever, back in that time. And I loved horror films, but they did often kind of scare the shit out of me. But one film really stood out, and that was The Blob.
Okay.
The original, because it was like, you're like 8 or 9, you're watching this film and you're like, okay, you cannot escape this creature.
Right.
It can get through anything. It is going to absorb you. And it just like that concept that actually gets into that film may have been like the first idea filmed wise of cosmic horror, true cosmic horror, because of course it came in meteor, the whole deal. It's an entity that cannot be killed, cannot be destroyed. It can be frozen, but can't kill it.
Yeah, and it's gonna fly out eventually, and it's gonna be like that messed up film that you had for Witch Tales.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing, man. It just really, that one really got me, and it's I think probably more than any other horror film when I was a young child, that one kind of traumatized me a bit. Of course, then again, 1970, Exorcist, I think was 1973 something or like so. That. Yeah, and I was like 11, something like that. My mom, my brother and I got my mom to take us to the drive-in theater to watch this film, and I was a Catholic at the time. All right, I could not sleep for like 3 days. I was just totally scared shitless again.
Like the drive-in too, like certain movies at the drive-in, like it's almost like more like my dad took me to see Carrie, not Carrie, Christine at the drive-in.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I was a kid. I was just like, why are you doing this? Like I would get scared and I would force myself to fall asleep. So I'm just in the back and just be like, fall asleep. But Tony's
that's exactly it. Tony.
Yeah. Tony's
back. Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on with everything. Everything froze, and then like it just stopped, and then I had to reset my computer. So hopefully,
that's fine.
Hopefully,
but really, because we're already like 25 minutes in. I wanted to get into some trailers. So I want to play the trailer for First Man on Mars, which is a very almost 50s sci-fi-ish feeling movie.
It's got a 50s, 60s, 70s kind of thing. I was also very influenced by The Incredible Melting Man.
Nice.
There's that kind, and also that I think it was a late 50s film, The First Man into Space. That's Yeah, it's a black and white. That's another one you may want to consider. It's
I'll have to
really good.
Stuff.
Marshall Thompson, man, Marshall Thompson.
Cool.
But yeah, it has those. You're absolutely right. 50s, 60s, 70s.
Yeah,
I just love all that stuff.
It's very campy, and like you can tell, it's purposely campy.
Totally. And we shot it on Super 16 too.
Nice.
On film, man. All on film.
That's awesome. All right, so here's the trailer for First Man on Mars, and we'll be right back.
The countdown to terror has begun.
The signal's getting stronger now. It won't be long.
Come quick! The monster done ate my pappy!
Do you really think this was a bear, Doc?
Highly unlikely.
First man on Mars. Once he was human.
There's something shiny in the rock. This is really starting to sting.
Now a bloodthirsty monster, killing and devouring the young. And not so innocent.
Let's take a look at this, huh?
I'm gonna blast the thing back to hell.
Oh, shit.
First man on Mars.
You mean there's aliens out here? Shit, I don't want to get abducted and anal.
This film is not rated.
There you go. First man on Mars.
Definitely. I wasn't able to check that one out. I did watch this one though. I already own the.
You've got the Blu-ray. Holy Toledo, man!
Yeah. So I did watch that one, but I wasn't able to.
That's right, Tony. You played the trivia game.
I got your point. Yeah.
That's right. God, man, I remember your name on the list now. Yeah. So, thank you for buying a copy. That's fantastic.
Yep.
Did you get the copy with Horror Anthology Movie DVD?
Yeah, it came with both.
The combo, right?
It came with the combo.
Nice.
So I wasn't able to sit down and watch that one, and I didn't even see the trailer. But you mentioned the Incredible Melting Man, and I definitely see that like correlation, and I definitely got to sit down and watch that for sure.
Yeah, it's on Tubi right now. So anyone out there can go see it on Tubi, completely free, and it's a good time. I mean, I watched it. I mean, we were talking earlier too. Like I think that they may change how many commercials you have to see if you're watching it later in the day. And I only maybe had like 3 commercial breaks throughout it, and it wasn't that bad.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Seems like an average. Like you would watch something on like, regular channel like TNT or something. You get
it seems like they'll stretch an hour and a half movie out to like 3 and a half. But
pretty much. But yeah, we shot that on 16 millimeter, and it just has that look. Once again, it's something that it's kind of an intangible thing, but there's a difference. There's a difference. I mean, you can filter video to give it a film look. Yeah. Like matter of fact, God, I've seen filters now where you can like give it like a Agfa 60 stock or whatever, like a specific like Kodak, 200, whatever. But there's something about shooting on film. It's one of those things. When I can, I do it. With Witch Tales, we shot the witch scenes on film. As I was saying before, only one of the witch scenes turned out on film. I did use it, so it's in there. But otherwise, that was shot with my Canon, 5 Mark III. The classic. Great camera, man. I love those Canons. Jeez Louise. And I know that they've got 4K now. They got a Canon 4K. It's probably awesome, and I'm kind of hanging on to my Mark III. My HD,
who cares?
Yeah, I know, it's beautiful. It really is. It's a great camera.
Making movies on cell phones, so
it is true. But then again, Black Magic, those guys man, they've got a 6K camera.
Jeez.
Now that is $2,200. I mean, that's insane.
No lenses or anything. It's just the camera.
Yeah, it's just the body. But you get the DaVinci Resolve for the color, and then the DaVinci Resolve lets you, you can, of course, shoot on 6K, knock it down to 4K or HD to edit. And wow, man, I mean, that's insane. It just kind of, it's very interesting because I do wonder how 6K RAW looks like.
It's going to be a giant file, though. It's got to be ridiculous. It's got to be like you're going to have like a bunch of hard drives just like strapped to your back or something.
Oh Jesus, yeah, that's why I think that's the brilliance of it, is that you're able to take that 6K and immediately dump it to 4K or HD to edit. So then you're not dealing with the humongous files, which is a big advantage with Blackmagic and their DaVinci Resolve. Which it looks really intriguing for $2,200. I think that's stunning.
Yeah. My our friend Angel, who sometimes comes on the show as well, he liked the look of the trailer, and he's got a OG Blackmagic Pocket Cinema, and he loves it. And
yes,
I've seen some of the stuff that he's done with it, and it looks really cool. And he's just learning how to use it. And he's buying like old lenses and stuff like that. You can
how many times have we said you could buy the greatest of cameras, but if you don't know how to use it, it's still going to come out. At this point in time.
I have friends that own Red Epics, and their movies look like they were filmed on an old wind-up camera toy of some sort.
Oh my God! Well, that there's one thing too. It's also you can have the greatest camera in the world, but if you don't have the greatest lenses to go along with that camera, the lens is. I mean, it's literally the thing. Like for instance, when we shot Witch Tales, I was using Zeiss lenses, and these it's a thing. People can say like, I like Canon or Zeiss or whatever, but I rented some of those. Those Zeiss Cine lenses? They're like huge. These freaking things are like that. They're like $5,000 lenses. But I rented those. I did an anthology before First Man on Mars called Creepers. And so for the segment that I did, I ended up shooting. I was using my Canon, the 5D, the Mark III, but I decided to rent a couple of those Zeiss Cine lenses. What a difference! It was just like, wow. It really was. It really did add just another dimension to the look. And I would love to take those lenses and try them, for instance, with the Blackmagic, this new 6K camera, because the new 6K camera, one of the things, I don't want to like bore people with technical stuff, but the mount is EF. It's not the little micro 2/3 or whatever the heck it is that usually is Blackmagic. It's EF, which is the Canon mount.
Yeah.
So you can just put those lenses directly on that Blackmagic camera. I'm like, I would love to do that. Just to test it.
I guess Angel was saying that he's got some Japanese super something lenses. I don't know what that is. Super. I don't know. Whatever.
Takamar.
I'm not gonna pronounce that correctly. But yeah, he's been messing with him, and like he showed me some videos of him and his son like outside in the snow and everything, and it just looked really cool. Like you just have to take time and get your shots right and do whatever. Some people just like just go, all right, it's good enough, whatever. Then it's available in Walmart. Like some of these movies are available in Walmart. I'm just like, okay, whatever. More power to you.
I mean, it's you never know, man. It's always you never know what's going to happen. It's kind of like Manos Hand of Fate or Hands of Fate. That movie. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
No, I don't think so.
Oh God, you got it. You guys have got it. Okay, MST3K, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, they did I look it up if you get a chance. They do a thing on Manos Hands of Fate.
Okay.
You got to see it. It is the way they do it. It's one of their best episodes, and it's hysterical. But this film just makes you wonder how they ever got the thing released. It's just wow,
Yeah.
like it's great. It's hysterical. It's a really classic, like that type of thing where they're just filming. I don't even know what and how and why, but it became a movie, and there it is, man. You know,
Wolfie's asking if Creepers is available to own anywhere. Is there a way for him to buy it?
well, technically, I mean, you can download it on Vimeo, so you could own it that way. It is, of course, on streaming on Vimeo, but I'm just thinking of.
He's a physical collector. He likes to have physical copies of, like, just like Tony. He likes to have physical copies of stuff.
Totally understand. Yeah, what happened is that and that was kind of a nightmare distribution story with Creepers. I signed up with these people, got a bad it just, these guys were not very good with distribution. So then I finally got the film back. So now I am in possession completely of it. I immediately put it on Vimeo, right? For streaming and download. And the next thing I need to do is to re-release it on Blu-ray. That's basically the next step. It's just been like, this last year has been like insane. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's just like a ton of stuff, especially revolving around witch tales. Because it just, this is kind of how it went in 2019, all during 2019 and up until February of 2020. That film, Witch Tales, was in the film festival circuit, and it did really well. It got into like a dozen film festivals, won some awards, and did pretty well. And it right up until it, it's one of those strange things. February of 2020, does that ring a bell? Yeah. That's the last month that things were normal.
Yeah.
That is it. And things just went fucking nuts after that. So and in my scenario, I was in Peru. I was living in Peru, and I literally, after Witch Tales was ready to be sold, either through a distributor or just self-distributed, I was like, okay, it's ready. It's time to leave Peru, because you just can't do business down there. It's very hard to do, and also to, for domestic sales and stuff, very difficult. So in December of 2019, that's when I came back to the United States. Well, in the beginning of March 2020, they shut down all air travel. You could not get out of Peru. It was closed.
That's crazy.
So the timing of me just getting out of there and getting back in the United States, it was freaking miraculous. Yeah. That's all I can tell you. It was so I just, everybody's got their tales to tell for 2020. And it's just, things just went nuts. But I released the film. So what happened is that I got like several distributors that contacted me that were like, "Oh yeah, we'd love to distribute Witch Tales."
Yeah.
Yes, but of course you're going to have to pay the E&O. You're going to have to pay. You've got you'll have $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on international markets and advertising. This is the same spiel these distributors give you. And I was like, no. It's BS. And not only that, a lot of them just don't know how to do domestic very well. They can do international sales. It's all right. But domestic, wow, man, they don't want to put much effort into it. The thing about a lot of these distributors is they make their money in foreign. They will take your film and bundle it with 50 other low budget science fiction and horror films, take it to AFM in Los Angeles or Berlin or Cannes, whatever, and they'll say, "Hey, Japanese distributor, we have this bundle of 50 movies. How would you like to buy these?" So the Japanese distributor buys them for $50,000, buys the rights, whatever. you get you by the time it comes down to you, it's like $100. That's basically it. That's like I could a direct thing. First Man on Mars, the first sale for foreign was South Korea. You think South Korea pretty decent? 600. Our cut was $600.
Jesus.
Yeah. So it's BS. In other words, imagine the company though with 50 of these movies. They sell that. They're getting way more. I can tell you way more than $600 on their end.
Yeah.
Times 50 for one market. That's why these guys that's why they come after you. I mean, you ask any filmmaker, they will tell you, oh yeah, geez, I get these emails from these various distributors, and that's what they are. They're just they don't give a shit about your film.
No.
They want to take the film,
yeah,
bundle it with 50 other films and make a mint at a market. That's it.
That's how we get those 50 movies on one disc deals at Walmart every time.
Right. Oh God.
So we were talking. You were talking about being in Peru and making witch tales, and that Sergio was asking what your next movie was, which is Witch Tales, which is it's in Spanish, right?
Actually, it's the. I got to tell you, this is I'm not. This may sound like I'm tooting my own horn or full of crap or something. It is the first anthology film ever shot simultaneously in 2 languages.
Really?
We shot the film in English and Spanish simultaneously using a bilingual cast.
Huh. Because the one that I watched was the Spanish one. I didn't know if there was an option to find the American one, because I watched it in Spanish with subtitles. It was fun.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's as a matter of fact, the subtitled version is better. It's better than the English. Yeah, it's better than the English version because obviously, even though the actor.
Nope. He froze up again. He froze up when we were setting up as well. Hey, who's coming back? You freezing up, Mike?
Speak.
All right, I'm gonna play the trailer for Witch Tales, and hopefully he'll come back by then. But here's the trailer for Witch Tales. He's got a couple minutes. It's like a 2-minute trailer. So here you go. This one's in English. So here you go.
This Halloween, the pretty girl next door wants to invite you in for a treat. Or a trick. Witch Tales. Witch Tales. See it with someone who doesn't bite. Much.
And we're back, and so is Mike.
Yes.
Welcome back. Good timing. But yeah, so that was a trailer for Witch Tales. I just figured I'd play the trailer while you were coming back.
That's
great.
Yeah,
it was good timing. But so yeah, I mean, I watched it. I'm curious to see it in English now. Like I liked it enough in Spanish with the subtitles, but I don't know. I'm just curious.
Well, it's not, and that's the way it's presented on the Blu-ray. The main film is the Spanish version with English subtitles. Then in the bonus, there's the English version. You know, so basically, what we had to do on set, let's say we're shooting a scene. We had to we're set up. It's like, okay, let's now start the scene shooting in Spanish. Go back, reset, do everything in English. So every actor's got to turn around and it's okay. Now we're in English. Imagine, I mean, it was kind of like imagine your 12-hour day.
Yeah.
Filming. It was nuts. It was completely insane. I will never do that again.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it.
Sorry, Wolfie's pointing out that the original Universal Dracula was shot kind of similar, the same way, but they did day and night.
Yes.
And I actually like the Spanish version of that better as well.
The Spanish version is really great with that. Of course, they had a multi-$100,000 budget.
Yeah.
And the budget for Witch Tales is $9,000.
There you go.
Yeah. Absolutely nothing. And I paid the cast and crew out of that. Because I always pay them.
So is the English version a little bit different than the?
Yes.
So
it is a little bit different. Yes, it's in the first place. It's 3 minutes shorter because it was just one of those things. You know, I'm editing. I'm like, oh, gee, well, this is with language, with stuff. You just kind of whittle it down, and it's 3 minutes shorter. There's some things in the dialogue that I thought worked better differently, like the way that they were said. Colloquial English, a lot of that just does not translate to Spanish. So when I wrote the script and I was going over the script with the actors, they would be like, what does that mean? Because it's some kind of weird colloquial saying. And so we had to devise dialogue for those things that would be very similar, but that people in Peru or wherever, in Spain, whatever, would understand when you said, oh yeah, this is, you can't say, hey, you dirty rat. It just doesn't really, you could say it, but they just don't say it there.
It's not, they're not going to get the reference that like the old,
no.
Well, there must be a filthy rat walking around.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, that was a challenge to overcome, but it was really good. The cast and crew were excellent. I got to tell you, man. And a lot of them had not done a feature film before. They had done maybe short films, theater, drama, stuff like that in Peru, but not a feature film. So it turned out really well, It's one of those things that it was just kind of almost a little bit of a miracle to pull off in Peru. I mean, shooting in another country where you're just like, okay, I want to make a film. Yeah. I'm going to make this film. This is the way we're going to do it. We got to shoot it in Spanish and English because I know that there's going to be you know how it is with a lot of people that watch, especially horror science fiction films. They want their films in English. They either want it dubbed if it's in another language, or they just want it straight in English. They don't want to read subtitles. It's just that way. People, time and time again. I personally don't have a problem with subtitles at all.
Like I used to not like it when I was younger, and then there was a movie, like an old anime that I saw that was dubbed, and I hated it. And then someone's like, yeah. And then I watched it with subtitles. I'm like, it's way better. So yes. I don't care.
And I think that even though I don't know. I mean, I do like the Spanish version of Witch Tales more than the English version. It just flows better. The acting is right on. It's on cue. It was those stories are taken from PreCode horror comics of the 1950s. The ones that you never heard of. Everybody's heard of Tales from the Crypt and EC Comics, but these were the other comics. Man, there were thousands of
Yeah.
type of issues of other comics that came out that were, along with EC, many of the EC comics all burned, banned, burns, destroyed, which is why those comics are so valuable today.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
kind of going into what you're working on too, right? Aren't you working on a
yes,
documentary about PreCode?
yes, it's called Haunted Thrills. And Haunted Thrills was one of the titles.
Oh, nice.
And it's great. Some of those things were far more psychotic and sinister than EC ever dared to be. I mean, because they had publishers that were very like exploitation publishers back in that in the 40s, 50s, and they would be like, okay, just do whatever you want to do as long as it sells comics. So they let these dudes just, I mean, they did some really edgy stuff. It's one of those things that what it came down to was that, of course, there were at the time, just before the Comics Code Authority came in, and it was a weird situation with all the hearings. It was just really, God. I think it was the first major case of industrial censorship in the United States, and that's exactly what it was. But there were two sides to that story, because technically they were comic books and kids were picking them up and they were reading this stuff that was just insane. I mean, really pushing the envelope. And some of the crime comics were even worse. I mean, they were, you got to see some of these covers to really, I mean, but you'd be like, okay, yeah, that's like, the guy's pulling a woman's severed head out of of sewer hole, and that's the cover, and he's like, like, shit like that. This is 1950. I mean,
yeah. Actually, I do have a question, kind of with the two films that I watched.
Yes.
So, was the severed head in Witch Tales the same severed head that was in? There was once like the one scene with the severed head in First Man on Mars.
Severed head, First Man on Mars. I'm trying to remember.
Remember at the tree? There's the tree, like it was before everything, and something's happening downstairs. Head gets chopped off. He's holding the head up. It was like the woman's head, and then there's a head. Is it the same?
It is not the same. It was the same wig.
Okay. I was kind of close. Yeah.
Right. There was a wig I mean, how with every no budget filmmaker, you better keep most of your props.
Yeah.
Because you're going to use them again and again. It's just,
I wonder, because as soon as you said severed head, I'm like, that makes me think. I was wondering if this was the case.
Yeah. So. And you're absolutely right, because from behind you see the wig and the thing. And I did use that wig. We did something to the wig, but we used it again in Witch Tales.
Nice.
But yeah. That is the thing. I wanted to get Haunted Thrills as part of the Witch Tales Blu-ray.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work out. It was like between moving back to the US, the COVID thing, all that stuff. Last year was just not, it was not happening. I wanted to get it out last year, like during the summer. With any luck, it will be out this year, end of summer, like August, September. That's what I'm aiming at right now. I've got all the footage.
It's a documentary or
a documentary, and it's not even a feature. It's only going to be like 20 to 30 minutes long. Okay. It's like a featurette,
Are you interviewing anyone, or is it just a story?
Yeah. 3 of the PreCode artists.
Oh, nice.
At the time were still alive. 2 of them have since passed away, unfortunately. Wow. Yeah, because they're all in their 90s. Joe Sinnott was the inker for Jack Kirby. He did all of the Fantastic Four, stuff like that. And he did PreCode horror comics, too. Nobody knows this, but he did a ton of them. So I interviewed him. I interviewed Everett Raymond Kinsler, who I think is one of the most amazing artists to ever come out of that. He he only worked in PreCode comics for like 5 years. He quit. He became a portrait artist. The guy ended up doing portraits of all of the presidents for like the last 40 years.
Wow.
He just died last, I think, 2 years ago. But he was like 95. You know, these guys, the fact that they lasted, I mean, 95, when I think of it, I'm like, there is no way. If I get to 80, I will be like jumping for joy. Yeah. I mean, but 95, and this guy was still working. When I went to interview him, he was painting, man. I'm like, how the hell do you do that?
You know, if that's what he loves and he can still physically do it.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And the guy's a genius. This guy, Kinsler, we're talking definitely Frazetta, Al Williamson, Frank Frazetta level. Totally all the way. Amazing artist. So I was lucky enough to interview these guys. I interviewed the guy that runs Metropolis Comics or Metropolis Collectibles in New York. They just do these insane auctions with PreCode comics and original art, the whole thing. So it's going to be good. And also, too, I'm capturing a lot of the artists that don't get credit. You know, you can watch documentaries on EC Comics. There's several of them on YouTube. You know, they're there. Everybody knows about EC and Tales from the Crypt and stuff like that. What I'm really zoning, there's no EC in my documentary. It's all of these other lesser known publishers, because there are just some amazing artists that just never got the credit that they deserved, and they died in obscurity. You know, that's what I want to do with Haunted Thrills, and I'm aiming for September, and possibly, I think it should be work out pretty well. But so currently, the way Witch Tales is, I am self-distributing after the distributors, as I was just telling you about, with their really bad offers. I went self-distribution in last May. And so I've got a special, it's a limited signed edition of the Blu-ray, limited to 300. And the special thing about this is that not only is it limited to 300 copies, but everybody that buys the Blu-ray can play a trivia game that comes inside the Blu-ray. If you answer the questions, you submit the questions, just send me an email with the answers. Then you're entered to win one of 10 of the movie props from Witch Tales.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So that's the extra, you got to do something.
So Tony, you're going to win that wig. You're going to win that wig.
It is. There is the severed head with the wig.
I want you wearing that on the show, Tony.
Yeah. There is the witch's red cape.
Nice.
The one she wears in there. There's the severed legs. The rat episode where they're that was
a cool story. That was probably my favorite. Like I like the wraparound story too. I thought that was
cool
because it was different. It was different than everything else. They were all so different, but I think the rat one was probably my favorite because it was just like so like trippy, you know.
It had that like what do you call it, like American Werewolf in London towards like that, when I don't want to give anything away, but when people start coming.
Exactly. There is that thing. It does have a kind of a surreal ghost element to it, And I gotta tell you guys a funny story about the rats. Now, this isn't. I'm not going to give away anything, but there was the scene, right, with the rats and the guy's legs and everything. Okay, and so we're in this hotel, and it's like just a sleazebag hotel. I wanted to get like just something that was really run, of course. Yeah. But people were totally cool. The people that ran it and everything. And so we're in this. We rented 2 rooms that were linked together, right, by a door. And so we're shooting. We finally get to the scene, and we hired this guy. I'm not kidding you. This guy is the Rat Whisperer. He's known in Peru as the Rat Whisperer.
Yeah.
And so we met this guy in downtown in Lima. and he had rats on him. They're like crawling on him. He could make them do anything. And we were just like, whoa. At that point, after I met the guy, I was still at that point, I was reading through all these stories to find 3 stories that I could do for the film. Mm-hmm. And I came across that story, Cycle of Horror. And I was like, okay, we can get that guy who's the rat whisperer and bring him in, and we're going to do Cycle of Horror. So that day, that fateful day, when we have the rats coming in and the legs, so they're doing their job. And as you can see in the film, we got enough footage where it's good, and they're chowing down.
Yeah, for a low budget picture too. I mean, it looks really good. Like
yeah. I mean, it was really sick doing that. I got to tell you, and it's the one segment that really brought out, like, most of the people I've talked to that have seen it, they were truly kind of disturbed by it. Just, it's one of those things. Rats and your leg.
Just like, oh
no, you don't. So we're filming it, everything's going good, and then suddenly one of the rats leaps off the bed and scurries, and the door is open to the lobby of the hotel, and he jams out into the lobby. And we're all, I'm like, no.
I'm coming back.
I'm like standing back there. I'm like, I'm filming the thing, and I'm standing. I'm like, no, rat, no. And the guy, and the dude, luckily he is the rat whisperer. He runs out there, and he's like, he says something, but I see one of the guys out, one of the managers, and I see a couple of people like on the far end of the lobby. I don't know if he got the rat in time, but you can only imagine if you're in the lobby, you're like talking to somebody, and suddenly a big rat is coming right at you.
But if it's sleazy, right at you, they're expecting it. But yeah, so we're actually at the hour mark, so we do have to wrap things up. But
okay,
so definitely check out First Man on Mars. It's available right now for free on Tubi.
Thank you, Tony. Absolutely, yeah. First Man on Mars is on Tubi. It's on DVD on Amazon and several other platforms. Witch Tales is available on eBay. It's on Amazon. It's on Etsy. It's also on Big Cartel, if people use Big Cartel. And I'm also selling it directly from my website, horroranthologymovies.com.
Is it streaming anywhere, or is it just
absolutely, it's streaming on Vimeo.
Okay.
Both versions, English and Spanish version. So
also keep your eye out for the comic book, the PreCode comic book.
Yes, Haunted Thrills. But I should mention that with can I plug something real quick? Okay, great. One thing I've got coming up, which I'm really excited about, is that I've been writing short stories, and I just sold my 6th story, actually, to a magazine called Cosmic Horror Monthly.
Nice.
This it's so cool. It's fiction, kind of. There is a Lovecraftian, obviously, vibe to it. It's cosmic horror, after all. But they're doing a Lovecraft issue that's coming out in August, and I've got a story in the issue. And so I'm just really excited. It's a great magazine. If people like cosmic horror or Lovecraftian fiction, I highly recommend Cosmic Horror Monthly. These guys rock. You will not be disappointed. I just picked up a few issues to see, and seriously, it's one of my favorites, magazines of fiction, if you will, that I'm currently reading. Absolutely, beyond a doubt. Cosmic Horror Monthly.
Awesome. And now, are you available? Like, if people are looking to connect with you on social media, where can people find you?
Yes, Facebook, Mike T. Lyddon, and also Real Progress, which is the page that I run on Facebook. Also on Minds.com. You guys hear of Minds?
No.
It's called Minds.com. It's just another social media platform. And that's also Mike T. Lyddon. Those are the two ones that I really use the most.
Okay.
Excuse me, the most. So.
Yeah.
But by all means, and I appreciate. Thank you, gentlemen, for having me on your show. It was fantastic. It was great, man. That just flew by.
It does
really quite good, and also for the people that commented.
Definitely. And also the audio will go up in like a week or so, or a couple weeks, and so there'll be a whole different group of people that will get to hear everything. So, cool. True. So, Tony, where can people find you? Even though you weren't here for much, but where can people find you?
You can find me at Tony Has Nine Fingers on YouTube, where I do movie reviews, unboxings, anything movie related. I'm on there. Tony Has Nine Fingers on Twitter, which I hardly ever use. Tony's Movies on Instagram, where I show off the movies behind me, and of course here every Tuesday. With Kev and Wolfie sometimes and Angel for the Wicked Horror Show. And I actually started a TikTok as well. Tony Has Nine Fingers.
When you,
where I'm
wig,
going...
when you win that wig,
I'll put it on.
Completely. It's going to be ridiculous. You're going to have to change your name and everything. Anyways, you can find me, A Knuckle on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook under my real name. But and then besides doing this and the interview or the reviews with Wolfie, I'm also part of Black and White Fright and Secret Underground Hideout, all of which are on the Dorkening Podcast Network. So thanks for watching / listening, and have a good night. Goodbye.
Goodbye.